This is Training Insights, Episode 5. Welcome to Training Insights, Episode 5. Can't believe it, 5 episodes already. My name is Kevin McGowan, and of course this podcast is brought to you by Training Magazine. Go to trainingmag.com for all sorts of great reading and research materials, and of course to listen to all these podcasts as well. Today we're going off to Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm going to speak with Kelly Knowles. She has been in the training biz for a couple of decades, but primarily now she works with a very large law firm in Nashville, and has a very unique role because she kind of plans all the onboarding She has a very unique role in that she handles a lot of the onboarding training for the entire organization, whether you're a lawyer with 30 years experience or whether you're the new person in the mailroom just out of school. She handles your onboarding process. And she also handles kind of ongoing training. So that onboarding might last, a week, a few weeks, a couple months. But after that, she is always figuring out how to keep their training going, keep everybody up to date, and keep everybody's skills up to date. Really interesting role she has, and I'm not going to tell you any more about it. I'm going to go right now to our phone call so she can tell you all about it herself. Ladies and gentlemen, Kelly Knowles.
So, Kelly Knowles, welcome to Training Insights.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and it's a pleasure to speak to someone in Nashville. It's a city I've always wanted to visit, but I haven't made it there yet.
Nashville is the hit city right now. It is so hot. We have over 100 people moving to the city every day. So it has certainly changed the city, but we still have a lot of our traditions here. It's been a fun time to live here.
Well, I know it's certainly, the country music capital and has all of that. But obviously there's a lot more to Nashville than that one industry. So how long have you been living there?
I moved here to go to college back in the 80s, and so I've had the opportunity to see a lot of the change that has occurred in the city just within the last 5 to 6 years where I am currently. The landscape of downtown has been tremendous. There is actually a website that is a crane watch. We have I think it's close to 100 cranes around the city right now with all of the building and economic development going on. So it's been a really interesting time to live in Middle Tennessee.
I guess so. Fantastic. Well, Kelly, tell me a little bit about, obviously we're this is a training show. We're going to talk about training, not just Nashville. But tell me a little bit about your role and what you do day to day.
Okay, very good. Well, I am the senior trainer here at a large law firm in Nashville, and I do all of the new hire training. So if you come into the firm as a senior partner or if you come into the firm as a paralegal, mailroom, whatever role you come in, I do your first couple of hours of training. And so within that, this is where we cover all of the applications that we use here at the firm on a daily basis. So it is, some of it is your boilerplate new hire training, and then depending on your role at the firm, we customize it. So that is just one part of what I do here at the firm. What I love about where I am is there is a lot of autonomy. So I'm always looking at what are the needs of our staff and our attorneys in terms of training. So it gives me an opportunity to offer different classes. It gives me an opportunity to do a lot of one-on-one and ad hoc. That bite-sized learning is a huge buzzword, and that is something that I do on a daily basis here at the firm. So I do both formal and informal training.
Wow, that's a lot you've got on your plate.
It's fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. In terms of, obviously, you're into adult learning. That's where that's where we live for most of the stuff. And obviously, no two adults are really the same, and probably no two jobs in the firm are really going to be the same.
Sure.
Be the same. How do you kind of get a sense of the needs? How do you do that needs analysis when you're doing your training design for all these different audiences within the firm?
That's a great question. My background, I did a lot of teaching at various colleges in the area, both for traditional students as well as for that non-traditional student. So I have taught, if you think about it from age ranges, I have taught from your very traditional 18-year-old fresh out of high school to senior management in their 50s and 60s who just want to complete their degree. And so there's some common factors that I always look at but then it's also just taking a few minutes to read the audience. Where are they coming from, and what is their style? Anytime someone comes to training as a new hire, even if they're incredibly experienced in their field, there's always a little bit of nervousness. They're in a new place, they're in a new position, and they're worrying about those kinds of things. So I really try to take the time just to quickly analyze what that person's style is, and then remember that I'm not the focus. The focus is on the learner. I want them to be the hero, not me. And so that is the approach that I try to use no matter what kind of level someone comes into the firm. And that is just a lesson that I learned from teaching college and adult learners for so many years, is that they come in with some common fears. They come in with some common insecurities sometimes, and then you've really just got to tailor it to your learner.
Well, there's a lot to go on there. How do you? And I want to ask you like 500 questions, but I only have about 10 minutes to do it. So tell me a little bit about the types of curriculum you are developing, or maybe even just one example, and how you might present that to these different audiences, these different types of people, these different types of roles.
That's a great question. For example, something as basic as Outlook. If you think about all of the capabilities of Outlook, some people just want to simply check their email and be done. Other people, they're using Outlook at a much more higher level. If you're a legal assistant, you're using it not only to check email, you're checking your attorney's email, you're scheduling appointments for your attorney, you're managing meetings and events. There's a lot of capability in Outlook that people aren't necessarily realize is there. And so if you even take a basic office product like Microsoft Outlook, you can take that and really customize it to the needs of your learners. And we're doing that here. We've done some assessments with our legal assistants, and there's been some really good learning that comes out of that. If you flip it over to an attorney, what that attorney may be looking at is, what are some shortcuts, what are some quick ways that I can manage my email so that it doesn't take over my entire day. I don't think there is a field out there right now where email management is not something that we're all struggling and dealing with.
You should see my inbox.
Exactly.
I agree 100%, yeah. Interesting, a couple things a couple times you've mentioned the word customized. Mm-hmm. And obviously I think what you're doing is, you're customizing for different roles for different individuals. And I like, too, how you said, they are the hero. They are the focus of this.
Right.
And I'm creating something to make that one person successful in their job or their first, week, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to ask this one. But how do you go to, or how do you respond to people who might say, well, I can just learn this stuff online?
Yeah.
There's a million YouTube videos out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, you provide a value add, and I can imagine what that is. But how do you describe your value add inside the firm, working with these people, as opposed to just telling them to go off to lynda.com or YouTube or something like that?
Right. I think that's a very fair question. There's so much that we can learn online. We always joke around here, what would we do if we didn't have Google? If I've got, if somebody is calling me on my phone and I don't know the answer to their question, guess what I'm doing on my other monitor? I'm pulling it up on Google. And so they're like, how did you find that out so fast? I said, it's the Google. We kind of joke. But it is a very fair statement. There are things that I go online. I go online and watch podcasts. I go online and watch videos. There is an organization out of North Carolina, GCFLearnFree.org. And I hope it's okay to plug them. They don't know me, but they have tremendous resources, and they're all free. I think it's actually operated out of a Goodwill organization in North Carolina. And so I'm always telling the learners here, hey, seek out what's out there. I think where I can bring value is sometimes you just need that 5-minute one-on-one, here is my specific issue. Help me drill down to it. And everybody does things differently. Everybody has different styles. A video or an e-learning is not going to be able to speak to that for you. It's going to be able to give you the basic framework, but then you've got to figure out how to customize and personalize it so it makes you more efficient. And I think that is one of the things that I love doing here is working with people one-on-one, back to kind of that bite-sized learning. What is it that's your end goal? What do you need to get to? And then we use all of those resources if we have to round that out, if that makes sense. So I think you can really do a blended approach when it comes to that kind of learning.
Excellent. I'll have one more question for you, because, I mean, again, we could go on for hours, I know.
Sure.
It's a passion for both of us. But you've kind of been around the block. You've taught in college and, various business and tech industry stuff. But how do you find, or what are the unique challenges in the environment working in a legal office?
Yeah, absolutely. It's cliche, but there is that billable hour. What is it that you can do so an attorney sees the need in coming to your class or coming to your training? One of the things that I've been able to do, because I have that first touch with new hires, the attorneys, I get the opportunity to meet them on the front end. So the more that I can do to establish rapport and to kind of build that, let me be a resource for you, the better that we are. I always say that training is not a one and done. If you go through new hire training, but you've had 400 other things attack you within that first week, we do follow-up training. 30 days into it, I'm back with you, spending time with you, often in your office. And so those are the kinds of things that I think I do in this kind of a unique environment where you're dealing with, once somebody comes in, most of the time they're in a billable mode. And so you've got to convince them that your training is going to help them be more efficient and get the more billable time, if you will. If you were doing this with salespeople, it would be the same thing. Why would you ask a salesperson to get out of the field and come in for training? You've got to make that value add to where they see immediate results, or they can get a vision of what they can accomplish because of the training.
Well, that's an amazing summary. I want to say I wish I had more time to ask you more questions.
Well, thank you for having me. It's fun.
I really appreciate it, Kelly. Thanks so much for the time.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kelly Knowles, for taking a little time to speak with me on Training Insights. She has a pretty cool role over there, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there listening who have very unique or interesting roles as well. And if you'd like to talk about that, drop me a line. Go to kevinmcgowan.ca, send me an email, and I would love to interview you as well to hear about your role in training and professional development. Maybe you bring something really unique or special to the table. I would love to hear about it, and I would love to share that with everybody else. So thanks so much for listening. Thanks to Training Magazine for continuing with this. It's a lot of fun working with the magazine. And I hope to see you again next time. Thanks.